It's the exact same play too.
Yep.
Broadcast is live.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Let's go. That's not iced tea.
That is not iced tea. Not iced tea at all.
Oh gosh.
Can we put iced tea in a uniform? Listen. Yeah, we're gonna let some people come in first, and then we'll get started.
I feel that.
Wait, I'm gonna bust out when the theme song kicks in. I'm gonna bust out another. You know what I mean? I'm checking my supply here. I'm seeing what I got going.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
I think he's a great player. I mean,
Miles Turner didn't go to Duke. Did that hurt Duke?
Yes. No.
He won a championship.
What's going on, everybody? Russell here, Duke Better. Zion's not on the call today. You know, I'm normally like the RJ to his Zion, and that I'm probably like shooting more than I should be. But today, I'm going to be the Trey Jones, and I'm going to lead things off here. Obviously, not a very fun game, to put it mildly. I think we just need to sort of start with a broad question that I'm going to put around the horn. Is this the worst loss that you've seen? It's a pretty basic question to just start off with. You know, let's start with Jay Edwards. Let's just sort of go counterclockwise here.
Definitely the worst regular season loss in a long time. I know prior to us going live, we were talking about the NC State loss with Dennis Smith or those guys, NC State, when Gottfried was there. So, yeah, definitely the worst home loss, I think, in some time, if I have to say so. Definitely tough, especially 2-game win streak. Definitely needed that. Victory tonight would have helped go a long way with Carolina coming in Saturday and the big guys they got in Baycott and Brooks. So we'll see how they respond coming this Saturday.
Jay Edwards' connection is sounding a little choppy, just like Duke's transition offense here. Let's move it around. Keep going. I can't see the people's names because there's too many people here. Somebody jump in.
I can go ahead. I mean, that was just pathetic in all honesty, since we were talking about the Stephen F. Austin loss, and this was one of the worst losses, and I think we said in KenPom history, and you're an 11-point favorite. You can't go and lose in an empty arena on the road to a Miami team who lost, 4 in a row coming into this game. I mean, going into this game, I thought Duke was back. We looked like a team who could contend and make the tournament, and now I just don't see a path to make the tournament at this point.
There's no way we make the tournament without a win out at this point. I mean, I think everyone agrees with that, right? I mean, just there's not enough. There's only 4 possible Q1 games on the schedule. We have to sweep those, and which I have no faith we can do. And then we also would need an ACC tournament to happen, and we'd need the good teams to play in the ACC tournament. And then we would have to beat all of those teams. So that's going to be a large hurdle to leap. Who else we got here? Mark, hit me.
In terms of the worst team we've ever lost to, I would say, I mean, Miami had only 7 scholarship players. They lost 4 in a row. They have a home loss to Florida Gulf Coast, which is no longer Dunk City. But I think it's an indictment of where the team is at right now, just very young, struggling a ton. I would still say the most embarrassed I was after loss was 4 years ago against Dennis Smith's NC State team. That team had no business losing. And similar last play, a freshman getting the ball with a chance to win, but making a mistake that ultimately led to no shot attempt and a loss.
Yeah, that one was also pretty poor. Not one of our better moments. Let's let's see. Who else do we got here?
I'll jump in, man.
Yeah.
I just, God, I mean, it's just one of those possessions, coming down the stretch too. What is this, like the 7th game in a row where we're nail biting, and how many times have we been used to that? It just shows how young we are. But in terms of, bad losses, I mean, the tournament loss that Lehigh, I still don't even like saying the word, to me is just brutal. Obviously Stephen F. Austin and the NC State game too, but this is just like not surprising. Like it came out to, okay, we should win this game by 15, right? But like us losing, it doesn't surprise me. It just doesn't. The way we play down the stretch, that execution down the stretch. Obviously Jim Larrañaga knows how to adjust to a 3-2 zone or even a 1-2-2, whatever you want to call it. And we didn't make adjustments from there. It's not surprising but frustrating.
Yeah, we definitely know from past years that Miami is very good at having guards get to the hole against us. I mean, we've seen it like Rodriguez, Shane Larkin. I mean, they've done it so many times. Yeah, I was going to bring up at least Lehigh had CJ McCollum. I mean, Isaiah Wong is definitely a real player, but they just don't have bodies like that on this team. Brandon, chime in. Worst loss that you've seen Duke play?
I mean, the worst loss, for sure to me, was a couple years ago when they played against NC State, that Dennis Smith junior team. They should have lost that game. They shouldn't even lost tonight. The problem is with this Duke basketball team is they're not very consistent from one game to another. Sometimes they play too much hot potato with each other. But what I mean by that is they keep passing it to one another, and hopefully one of them will make a play. I think that's the big issue with this team is like the last 2 games they're playing hot potato in a good way. They're passing it to each other to find open shots and making them. But tonight they're sometimes offense they're passing it to each other and they're like, so who's going to make a play here? And then when the shot clock got low, they got kind of stuck and there are a couple times that they throw it up. But the thing is that tonight is they should have lost this game. I mean like Miami just played harder. And they didn't know they had 4 starters or like 4 guys out, and tonight like that they didn't use that excuse. And to me it seemed like Duke didn't play with those 4 letters across their chest like they should. And that's kind of hard for a young team, but that's what they got to work on. That they just got to work on being consistent.
Yeah, I think conditionally the State loss was really bad, but this one. Stephen F. Austin breaking the streak at home with the Crazies was really bad. And then this obviously effectively, pending a miracle, ending our chances at making the NCAA tournament against a very shorthanded team, as someone pointed out. Very, very bad. There are a lot of questions in the comments that I see keep popping up on the screen. The next thing I really want to sort of go around and ask everybody, what's the big, what the fuck question that you were left with? Obviously, there's a lot of them, but
why did we pass it? Why did Jalen Johnson pass it? That's the thing I just don't understand. He had to have known how much time was left on the clock. That reminded me of J.R. Smith in the finals.
I don't know if he did know how much time is on the clock.
And if he didn't know how much time was left on the clock, how can you not know how much time is left on the clock?
That's the correct question, I think. I think there's no way that he knew because, they've criticized Jalen in the past for sometimes getting a little, closed down when, looking at the rim. You know what I mean?
Moment.
Yeah, we're having some blinders on, but here, I don't know exactly what happened there. We can look at the.
Let's be honest, we weren't going to make that shot, but it would have been at least nice to take a shot.
What's funny looking at the games themselves? There were really 4 guys that I thought played pretty well today. Hurt obviously played well. Wendell Moore played very well, all things considered. A couple of possessions notwithstanding. I thought DJ Stewart mostly played well. Mark Williams played very well. Maybe that's the first question I could start with and have Jay Edwards jump back in here. Why no Mark Williams in the second half, really? Why no Jamin Brakefield? What questions did this game leave you with, Jay Edwards?
I think it's just typical Coach K. He shortens that rotation early, come ACC time. And, Brakefield's minutes have been getting lower and lower as time, is been happening in the last few games. I'm not really sure why Mark, didn't play more in the second half. I know Kay went to man-to-man the last, few minutes of that into the game there. So it'd be nice to see Brakefield, get some more minutes. Joey came in there. But, hopefully sooner rather than later, Kay, we'll give Brakefield some time, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but when? If
Hopefully
not
come
today,
At this point, we're
if
running
not
out of time.
today, then when? Yeah. Somebody else jump in here. I need to know what questions you got.
My question
think
is,
look
why
at-
did we only go with 7 guys? We played 7 guys tonight. Or
Well, the
8,
thing-
I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
But Baker didn't really even get a minute in there.
Baker
He had
played
less than a
very
minute. So
limited minutes.
we played 7 guys tonight, and I just don't understand that.
Yeah. Well, why do we think that's just Kay doing what he normally tries to do, and just sort of sticking to that, or I'm struggling to find the reason why, when things are going bad in a game where we should be winning pretty notably, why we're not trying some new things. Let's see who else needs to get it. Spencer, get in here.
Well, no, I think looking at the box score, I think the things that surprised me is that Jordan Goldwire took 10 shots, and Jeremy Roach played 14 minutes and had 2 points. And I had a friend text me during the game, "What is Jeremy Roach doing?" So the question is, what is Jeremy Roach doing? What did he do tonight to do anything? I mean, he only played 14 minutes. And Jordan Goldwire shooting 10 shots, man. 4 of them threes. Goodness, that's just
Yeah.
frustrating.
We
And then
had
Mark Williams
mentioned.
got 2 fouls, and he's gone. Mark Williams got the 2 fouls, early in the second half, and then we didn't see him since. So I don't know what Kate's thinking there.
I didn't even think he had those 2 fouls that early, though. Like, wasn't the second foul pretty late in the first half? Like, it wasn't like it was like 5 minutes into the game or anything.
Right.
Yeah, to me, I think Coach K sometimes has a short leash when sometimes he needs to play like Jeremy Roach more. I think on offense, I think Jeremy Roach is a lot better when it comes down to Jordan Goldwire. I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm
not necessarily sure that's true, but keep rolling.
Yeah, well, to me, I think if to me, this Duke team is a transition year team for next year. I mean, I thought that before the season started, and everything like that. I mean, to me, if you want to be great, towards next year, I mean, I'm not going to get way to the next year, but to me, I think you should play Jeremy Roach even more. If he goes out there and screws up, it's best for him to learn. But to me, I think Jeremy Roach. I mean, like last game against Clemson, I thought Jeremy Roach played pretty well. Like he actually looked like he came back, from the previous couple of games before that and stuff like that. And tonight, it seemed like he was playing, here and there, and then he was gone, and Jordan Goldwire was basically taking over for him. Which I'm not saying Jordan Goldwire played terrible tonight. I mean he played okay. I mean he played the best he could and stuff like that. But to me, I think Jeremy Roach should have more minutes.
I think it's worth pointing out with Goldwire, we talked a little bit at the half about sort of Jordan Goldwire's offense. Coming into the game, Goldwire was 3rd on the team in offensive win shares, 4th in offensive rating, 3rd in total box plus minus. I mean, Jeremy Roach and Wendell Moore both in the negatives. I think Jalen Johnson was lower on all those stats than Goldwire. Goldwire normally has seemed this season to sort of know his role. That's usually where he thrives, right? Is sort of knowing where he fits in and get it in where he fits in. But today, I don't know if it's just because we were in a bad spot and nobody was stepping up. I don't know why he took some of those shots. Obviously, he made the one off the bounce 3, and sometimes that's a really bad thing for a guy to have happen, because then he's like, "Oh, it's going in," and then it rolls like that. I don't know. We got to get Mark in here. Mark, hit me with the question. What question did you leave the game with?
My question was simply, did these guys look ahead? Last year against Boston College, game before the UNC game, we struggled like crazy against the worst team in the ACC, according to Ken Pom. And the difference was last year's team could get away with it. And I wonder if this year's team, if the freshmen were looking ahead, too excited, too amped up after the Clemson game. And then when Miami punched back, they weren't ready. Sort of like Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And it looked like Goldwire was the only one that really understood what even a mediocre team is capable of doing on any given night, and tried to exert himself. But of course, Jordan Goldwire, love him, can't do that. He can't be taking 10 shots a game. But I don't put it all on Goldwire. I think his teammates really let him down tonight and made him do too much.
The worst performance on the team tonight, I think we can probably all agree was Jalen Johnson, or we can get close to that. I mean, like the turnovers, he tossed at least 3 live ball turnovers. Obviously, the play at the end. When Jalen Johnson is good, he's probably our most talented player. And when he's not, he's definitely tossing the ball away a lot. I tweeted out, I think sometimes he's thinking ahead too much and he's trying to fit the ball into spaces that are too tight. And then those just always end up with layups, though, for the other team,
Yeah, just trying to look good.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the worst performance. I mean, Jay Gold was 2 for 10. He was 1 for 4 from 3, but I mean, he had 3 turnovers. Johnson had 4. I mean, no one on the team
also played defense. Yeah, and Johnson had.
Yeah. I think we were talking at halftime. That's the only reason he's on this team. If we're being honest, he can't. It's ridiculous, but I mean, I liked what I saw out of Mark Williams tonight. He had 4 blocks. We had 6 total. He had 4 of them. So I like that. I would just love to see Henry Coleman and Jamin Brakefield get some minutes, but we're just not seeing anyone other than D7 and Joey Baker get minutes. Just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I guess that sort of segues into what my next question would be, Matt, which is, now that it's very unlikely that we make the tournament, just if we're being honest, right? Where do we think the team will go from here? I think we all probably agree that playing the young guys as much as humanly possible is a good thing and we should do. But do we think we'll actually do that? Like, where do we think the team will go from here?
It's difficult for me to say, let's just lay down and we know our fate is sealed. Let's not even try to make the tournament. I think that would be – I think you got to play your guys and hope for the best and see what happens. But, I mean, we're still 7-6, which obviously is not good. It's not up to the Duke standard. But, I mean, we can make the tournament. The only difficult game we really have left is Virginia. So – it's definitely possible. It's not likely, but it's definitely possible.
To say that that's the only difficult game.
No, we got more.
Well,
we
that's
got
the
more
only
games.
ranked game. I mean, every game is a difficult game, but I meant that's the only ranked game we have left on our schedule.
We have 0 quad 1 wins. We're 0-4 versus quad 1. We have a quad 3 loss now, I believe. Now,
No,
maybe
we have
Miami
to win out, but
yeah, like so. Yeah, so I mean, like I agree that like we shouldn't just like all of a sudden sit our seniors and go like all freshmen or whatever. But like, at what point are we going to decide? Okay, well maybe we need to just get these young guys some experience. Like, is that a decision that we feel like this team is capable of making? Let's get Jay Edwards back in here.
I don't think with Kay's pride, how long he's been doing what he's been doing, that he will do that. Unfortunately, I know most Duke fans would want that just because of what the future will be, especially next year when they bring in, Banchero, Griffin, possibly Patty, and Keels as well. But, yeah, I just can't see Kay ripping the Band-Aid off and just playing all those young guys consistently, like I said, many Duke fans would like for that to happen. Obviously, I think Johnson and Hurt are both gone. But, yeah, it would be great if Brakefield, like you said, Coleman could get some more minutes, even, Big Mark as well, so.
Spencer.
I mean, I've never really agreed with, but I mean, this is the first time in my lifetime that we're talking about not making the tournament. So like, I don't know how you go from here, but I think it comes down to the Carolina game. That's a pride game. And obviously we were looking forward to it. And especially because I don't think we're going to win the game. We have no one to go against Baycott and all those guys. But going ahead, I mean, I think you just let it ride out. I don't think you need to necessarily. I would love to see Brakefield get more minutes. Absolutely, I think he's deserved more minutes in the entire season. But I don't know about just throwing in the towel, and kind of having an out. That's just not who we are. I don't think we're ever going to be used to that ever. So, yeah.
Again, I think there's a world of difference between throwing in the towel. I'm not suggesting that, and extending the rotation significantly because of very honest considerations that we need to like put into play here. Like Jeremy Roach next year is our point guard, right? And he has, unfortunately, I love Jeremy Roach. I loved him coming out of high school. He has not played well this season except for in fits and starts. Like we've got to let him play a lot of minutes. We've got to let him. We've got to do for him what Texas did for Matt Coleman, and just like let him play through the stuff that's not working, so that then he can turn it around and really figure it out. I think you could argue the same thing for guys like Brakefield Coleman and certainly Mark Williams. I think there's no excuse to not play him, 20 plus minutes in a game like this when we kept getting destroyed on the inside. Who else? I don't have the names of Brandon. Jump in here.
I mean, to me, I think like a Coach K is a winner. Like he ain't gonna throw in the towel and say, "Oh, let's play all the young kids." He ain't gonna do that. I mean, the guy won 1,000+ games, 5 national championships, and all that stuff. What he's gonna do is put Duke in the best position to win in every game. And like from us, from a fan perspective, yes, I would love to see Jeremy Roach more. I think Jeremy Roach can be a great player for Duke. To me, I want him to play the most he possibly can this year. But it's, and I mean, I'm not a coach. I'm not an assistant coach or anything like that. But but to me, I think like a Coleman can play a little bit more. Like a Brakefield. At the beginning of the season, he seemed like he was our energy off the bench. Every time he came in, he made a play. And now he hasn't played way too well, but he also hasn't played a whole lot. So to me, I think we need to work him in more. But on the flip side, I can understand what Coach K is doing. He wants to win. He wants to win now. He doesn't want to, I wouldn't say throw in a towel like you said, but he doesn't want to basically just throw out a team out there like, oh, we played hard, but we lost by 5 still. So that's the way I look at it.
Got Zion Hurton in the comments with the Matt Hurt comment, no pun intended with the Hurton there. I really think that bit of his legacy is what's making people in my comments be so wrong about Hurt. I get people trashing Hurt in my comments constantly when he is clearly the best thing that we've had all season. He's a first-team All-ACC player. That poll that I saw the other day where they were like Matt Hurt or Ryan Kelly is to me absolutely bonkers. If we had Ryan Kelly sophomore year instead of Matt Hurt sophomore year, we are 2 and whatever. Yeah. The absolute disrespect that people are showing to Matt Hurt absolutely has to cease. Even tonight, he was trying. God bless him. You know what I mean? Mark, we haven't heard from you in a second. Let's get you in here.
Yeah, no, Matt Hurt suffers from I guess you could call it I remember in 2007, our last team that clearly wasn't very talented. Their best players were Josh McRoberts, DeMarcus Nelson. Those guys aren't as highly acclaimed because they were the best players on until this year, the worst team of our lifetime. And yeah, Matt Hurt, I mean, the box score has gone out, but he was a +3 tonight. He played 39 minutes, which means the 1 minute he was off the court was enough for us to lose. And it really just shows sort of the unfair position he's been put in. Obviously, circumstances got him last year, and this year the team isn't that good. But talking about playing the young guys versus veterans, thing is, this is a blanket free year of eligibility. If we miss the tournament, I think there's a good chance Goldwire comes back. And so it's sort of, I don't know if obviously you want the young guys to play through the kinks, but theoretically speaking, everyone is open for development. And so plus also, I know Coach K, he'll always give his teams the best chance to win. Whether his definition is the same as mine, I doubt it. But I don't know if we're going to see a ton of change coming forward.
Yeah, Matt, you got a question.
Yeah, so in all honesty, if it weren't to keep the streak alive, would you guys even want to be in the tournament? Because this just feels like a team that would lose by 1 million in the first round.
I would rather lose by 1 million in the first round than miss the tournament.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
At this point, put me in the tournament as a 16 seed and have us get blown the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather have that 10 times out of 10, 100 times out of 100 than miss the goddamn tournament. That's
you got to remember do you remember all those Carolina jokes we did, the NIT, for the special last year in 2010? I mean, just imagine us.
People still say Robert Morris to Kentucky fans, dude.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If we went to the NIT and didn't win that bitch,
exactly.
Are you kidding me, man?
Exactly.
That's how I feel.
Which that's a good question though. I mean, God knows the lower level teams that if say Kentucky makes the NIT, they're not, but say they do, and who else could we win the NIT? going against like the
After
USC.
tonight, dude, I don't know.
I mean, I don't think so. I mean,
No.
I think we could beat a lot of teams, including a lot of tournament teams, and we could lose to a lot of teams, including a lot of non-tournament teams.
Yeah.
That's the issue. I think if we went to the tournament and we got hot at the right time, we've got the personnel to win a couple of games at least if we're in the right situation and if we make the tournament, which obviously we're not going to at this point. But if we didn't make the tournament, we got to the NIT, yeah, we could win the NIT or we could lose to anyone. We could do a Robert Morris, man. You know, and I agree with Update Duke. I don't think, especially in a COVID year, Coach K would just set us out. We're not going to the NIT anyway. Yeah.
Based on what happened with non-conference play and not playing that, I doubt he plays the NIT.
Yeah, I totally agree. Question for the gang. If you're picking the top 3 performers so far this year for Duke, okay, so we're all going to agree that Hurt is one of them. Who are our next 2 players that you have been the most impressed with throughout the season, not on like a game-by-game basis, but throughout the season? You've got to pick your next 2 guys off the team. Who are you picking, Jay Edwards?
I think I'll start with Stewart. I think he's progressed a lot from the beginning of the season. He gets down there and he'll battle, get rebounds. I think he had 6 tonight with the box score, what you put up. I think he's averaging 14 or 15 points now. So definitely, I got to put DJ Stewart up there. Johnson's had his struggles. But for me, the third guy who I think some people might agree with me is Mark Williams. I know in limited action, he has been producing a lot more lately too. At the beginning of the year, K wasn't giving him a lot of minutes, but I feel like over the beginning of conference play now, he's, showing spurts, and I think the future is bright for him. He just needs more time, which I think we all agree on. Just from a defensive end standpoint and putbacks, he bats a lot of balls out when he can't really get position and grab the rebound, kind of like a Plumlee, how the Plumlee brothers used to do that back in the day. So those would be my 2, is Stewart and Williams. Obviously Williams when he continues to get more minutes. So
Spencer.
Yeah, I was going to say Mark Williams right away, and I know they mentioned it on the broadcast tonight, how they said Nate James is working with Mark, and you can clearly see it. He's progressively gotten better every single game, the more minutes that he gets, and I think that could be the same for Brakefield and even Coleman once they get the chance. In terms of DJ or Jalen, to be honest, I am satisfied with how DJ's played, and obviously frustrated. I'm frustrated with how Jalen played tonight. There was like 3 of his 4 turnovers or whatever were just blatant passes, either out of bounds or straight to a guy's hands. So there's games like that where I'm like, Jalen, like I need you, but I mean, he's kept us around games. The pick game without Jalen Johnson, we get blown out. I think there's just the few games that we've seen him, I would say I'm a little more impressed than DJ.
Brandon.
The other 2 guys would be DJ Stewart and Jalen Johnson. I mean, I think they're the top 3 players alongside with Hurt. With honorable mention of Mark Williams, the only reason I'll put him number 3 in there because he only played a very few times this year. But the thing is, the one thing Jalen Johnson has to worry about is that sometimes he tries to get too cute with his passes. I think we saw that tonight. And there's sometimes he played kind of lazy defense tonight. But the thing is, I mean he's a young player. I mean he'll definitely bounce back and everything. With DJ Stewart, he's been pretty consistent for the most part of the year. He's been shooting pretty well from 3-point land and everything. And he's playing hard, but the most surprising player I thought would be in the top 3. I think for the season was Wendell Moore. I think he's like regressed a little bit, but that's a topic for another time, I guess. But that's my 3 guys for sure.
I think Wendell has progressed a lot over the last few weeks. I've seen some people in the comments saying that we should probably consider Wendell Moore for this top 3 conversation, if only because of the last half of the season. Obviously, the first half he does not belong, but the last half, I mean, even tonight, I mean, he was just by the plus minus, he was our best player. I mean, I think you could probably make that argument for tonight. But for the season, Matt, let's get your thoughts here.
I would probably agree. Definitely DJ has to be in there, and Jalen is up there. I mean, Jalen, if we're talking pure talent, Jalen might be the best on the team. but he just makes some dumb decisions at time. I mean, he had 4 turnovers tonight, and then that horrible pass at the end of the game. Like I said, we probably weren't going to make that shot, but you got to at least take it. You never know what's going to happen. So at the end of the day, I would probably say DJ and Jalen, just because I think Jalen is very, very talented. We just haven't seen enough of him, and he hasn't. I think he's talented, but he's not talented enough to lead a team, if that makes sense.
Sure. By the way, I see we've got a Maryland fan in the chat. Shout out to this Maryland fan. I'm surprised you're interested in what's going on here and you're not watching Diamond Stone and Mello Trimble play for the Fort Wayne Ants versus the Jacksonville Shrimp. You know what I mean? Mark, let's get your answer here.
I would say DJ Stewart and Jalen Johnson. DJ's been our most consistent freshman, I think. He's had games where he's dipped in shooting, but he's the only guy that's been able to find ways to score. And then Jalen is obviously he's very frustrating. He's very at times, but he's also when he's on, he's our best player. With all due respect, Matt Hurt. No one else on the team can do what Jalen's capable of. And I know we started off rough the first half of the season, but I think the reason why Wendell gets flack is his 3 best games were Boston College, Pitt, and Miami. We barely beat Boston College and lost to Pitt and Miami. So it's just a victim of bad timing. So if he can get another great performance and a big win, like, say, dust off his reputation as a great player against Carolina on Saturday, I think he'll start to grow again in the eyes of the Duke fandom.
I think if we're talking about consistency, let me say something that's going to make the chat real mad here for a second, just because of when I'm saying it. If we're talking consistency over the course of the season, in my top 3, I sort of think you got to at least consider Goldwire in there. I think you got to consider he doesn't have the top end talent of some of those other guys, but in terms of consistency, Goldwire is going to be first team all defense. Mm-hmm. Whether he shouldn't be taking these shots, but he shows that he understands the moment a little bit better than a lot of the other young guys. I think obviously it's really bad timing to make this argument after tonight.
I was just about to say that, bro. I was looking at that scoreboard right now, the box score.
Yeah, for sure. But I definitely think that you can count on Goldwire for the most part every game to do the things that Goldwire is good at. And then sometimes he'll do things that he probably shouldn't be doing, but at least I know that he's going to deliver on the end that I need him to deliver on, game in and game out. And the other guys, the younger guys, it just hasn't been as much. And as Update Duke said here, yeah, Goldwire's been put in a position that most guys who are unheralded recruits aren't put in this situation in a Duke uniform ever. And certainly not on a team this young with no prep coming into the season. Again, it was a bad game today, yes, but I would consider putting him in there for that reason. And yeah, I mean, luckily, a lot of the comments are being a little nicer to me than I thought.
If only he could make wide open layups, he'd be set.
Yeah. Hey, that Euro though was his nicest layup today. That was a nice looking layup.
Just don't get it.
What should Duke do? Another question, because the season is so full of questions. What does Duke need to do defensively? We've talked about this a number of times on the show here. Zone has been thrown out there. The zone obviously was very effective for, let's say, 6 to 8 minutes. And then it wasn't. What does Duke need to be doing defensively in order to hang into games? Or is there just a personnel problem that's going to be really hard for us to hurdle for the rest of the season? Jay Edwards.
Somebody in the comments just mentioned it. Communicate. How many times did Miami get, wide open dunks in the middle of that zone tonight? The Gott kid, he averaged 2 points, had, 6 wide open dunks, 3 wide open dunks for 6 points. And there was just no communication. Guys are just looking at each other, holding their hands up, saying, whose fault is that? But at that point, it's just too late. And I think just, not prepping, having the, off season and all the non-conference games, to work on things like that. But I just think at the end of the day, communication is one thing that this team has lacked for a good part of the season. And it continues to show, even to this point of the season. So
Yeah, ever since K did that switch to zone in 2015 that we just hadn't really deployed a lot before then, I think we've seen a lot of zone. We've seen more press even also than we've been used to. But normally with those teams, we've tended to have a lot more length. I've mentioned before on this show that like we just don't have a lot of length in the backcourt this year to do things like a nonstop zone or a nonstop press. And obviously Miami was blowing by our press tonight, so we should have stopped that. Spencer, jump in here.
Yeah, I mean, I like going to the zone and to make the run in the end of the first half, going to the zone. Obviously, it worked, but then, like I said, it's Jim Larrañaga. You know, it's a legendary coach. It's not somebody that is just a rookie ACC coach. This guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to adjust, especially when it comes to zones. And he adjusted. And when we didn't make the adjustment from there, which is just super frustrating. And I like going to the 3-2 compared to the 2-3. It's just when we press and we pull up and we get him in the backcourt. There's just no one can recover. Either DJ and Jeremy are just both all over the place, and they just don't recover nicely, and it leads to those easy dunks or easy threes. And naturally, you have Miami team that's 29% in country, or excuse me, shooting 29% from three, and they led for 56% tonight because they were getting easy shots because we weren't rotating and adjusting on defense.
Matt.
I mean, I agree with a lot of what's been said. We just got to try something else. I mean, there were times tonight where there wasn't with anyone within a 10 feet distance. It looked like we were taking social distancing to the basketball court. It was just pathetic. So I don't know what we have to do, but we've got to try something else because what we're doing now isn't working.
Mark.
Yeah, this team just struggles when a player slips behind. Like the next time we cover corner three in the zone will be the first. This team just has only a very simplistic knowledge of defense. Like a player can easily slip behind the zone, or a player could go backdoor, even in a man-man defense. And it's all communication and experience. I don't think it's not like 2015. There's no quick fix to this defense.
There's a lot of ball watching too. I mentioned that on Twitter. You see a lot of times guys will leap out into the passing lane and just leave their guy alone. Or, you know, when the back cut happens, again, it's because they're looking on that passing lane. They're looking for that steal. You know, they need to stop focusing on ball grabbing and start focusing on ball stopping. You know what I mean? Brandon.
To me, when the first 10 minutes of the game when they're playing man-to-man, they probably can't stop my grandmother. It was all the way down the lane. How
fast is your grandmother?
I tell you one thing, she's at 92 years old, and she can drive past anybody on Duke tonight. But anyway, yeah. But the thing is, when the Coach K when they went to that 3-2 zone, it actually worked for about 6-7 minutes. Like Miami's very stagnant offense. Miami came in tonight, as one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country. You wouldn't know it's tonight. They looked like the Golden State Warriors tonight. But the thing is that the back line of the defense didn't communicate at all. And the thing is, I think for the most part, when we played 3-2 zone, I probably say over half the game or so, when Miami kept on breaking the zone, and I was like, well, Coach K go back to man. And finally they went back to the man in the last 5 minutes of the game. And then when a goal wire or whoever was guarding the ball at the point was getting blown by, and there's no help defense, anything like that. So
I'm seeing a lot of comments about the back line in the comments, but we need to talk about the front line too, because if we're running a 3-2 and like those guys on the side get too extended, it doesn't matter how fast your back end guys are going. Like unless you've got old school DeAndre Jordan back there, there's just not much that you're going to be able to do if the 3-2 gets too extended on the sides. And again, our guys on the side just seem like they're looking for steals too much, with the exception of the end of the first half. I would sort of wonder if maybe doing something like a Georgia Tech does, where they're switching from like this zone to maybe man to this, just keep the other team on their toes a little bit.
Guessing.
Maybe that's an idea. Or we'll just recruit Brandon's grandma and bring her in.
Exactly.
Let her
she can have much worse of an offensive game than Goldwire.
So we've currently got 9 games left on the schedule. I know we're going to wrap this up in a minute. We got 9 games left on the schedule. 2 against UNC, Notre Dame at home, NC State away, Wake away, Virginia home, Syracuse home, Louisville home, Georgia Tech away. Out of those 9 games, we're going to set The over-under on wins in those games, let's set it at 5.5.
Oh, under. I thought you were going to go 4.5.
Are we taking over-under on the losses being 5.5? Currently, right now the game has not been put into KenPom yet, but right now KenPom has us going 7-2 in that stretch. I think that's aggressive. I think we agree that's aggressive, probably. But 5.5, we going under, or we going over?
I think we'd be lucky to get 4 or 5 wins in these last 9.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
So that's an under from Matt. Who else?
Mm-hmm.
Chime in.
That's an under for me as well. 3-4. I just don't think they'll get over 5.5. Unfortunately.
I guess let me rephrase the question. If you think that tonight is indicative of the talent, then like the over under is set more at 3.5. I think that tonight we should have won, obviously, and we should have at least performed a little bit better. But I also don't think that this level of how we play is the level that we will play for the entirety of the rest of the season. And we only have, again, we've got 4 Q1 games, but a couple of them are against teams that we should be beating in theory, well, at least one that we've already beat. I wonder whether 5.5 going immediately under is judicious, or whether that's reactionary considering today versus the last week. Because if I'd asked that same question after the last game, everyone would have smashed that over.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So are we? How do we find that line, that nice line as fans to toe between thinking we're making the tournament and we're making a run after last game versus today we're not making the tournament, we stink, we're not doing anything? How as fans do we find a way to find that middle ground there? I like Tyrone. Right on, Tyrone. Hell yeah.
Well, I think when it comes down to it, this
Flag
team,
that Tyrone comment, Zion. We got to get Tyrone. If we lose 3 games, Tyrone's eating his hat on IG or Twitter Live. We're bringing his ass in here, and we're going to watch that happen. That'd be some entertaining shit right there. Sorry for cutting you off. Keep going.
No worries, Russ. I think this team, it's kind of reflective of the team, very up and down. Particularly what concerns me is our struggles on the road. We beat Notre Dame and we've lost our last 4. That's the main reason why I'm not as optimistic about hitting the over on it, because we're going to lose to NC State on the road. That's preordained. No matter if we have Leitner, Hurley, and Hill, and they've got the YMCA guys, we just don't beat NC State at their place. And then we've just shown this team is close. Only Illinois has beaten us thoroughly throughout the whole game. Every other game's been winnable. But like I said, there's a lot of things about this team that aren't quick fixes. And I think they'll get up for games, but I think this team doesn't know how to win when the other team is more up for games. Not yet, at least. I don't know if you can learn that in a month. So, I'd love to hit the over. That's why I'm currently going 5-4. 5-4 is my prediction.
Mark, I think that's a really good point. The idea that the team is almost certainly better than what their record is, while also probably not being good enough to be a tournament team. There's still, a lot of upside here that these sort of close margins seem to indicate. Who else wants to, maybe instead of the over-under, because I think everyone's smashing the under here, what's your prediction out of the next 9 games? What are we running for the next 9 games? Jay Edwards.
I'm gonna say 4 and 5. I think they split with UNC. They get Notre Dame. NC State, like you said, is definitely, I think, a loss. UNC, other game will be a loss. I think they get Pitt left on the schedule.
Yeah, Pitt's not left. We don't have Pitt left, sadly.
Sorry. Yeah,
that was Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Virginia, Louisville, and
yeah, I think they get Syracuse. I think they find a way to win that. And honestly, I think they get the win against Louisville, and I think that's the 4. Just looking at the rest of the schedule, in my opinion.
Shit, that Syracuse one is one that scares me because of that zone. We're not. I'm surprised we have not seen more zones this year, frankly.
Yep.
Spencer, what's our record last 9 games?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I guess 3 and 6.
God damn!
I wanted to say 4 and 5. I thought through it a little bit there, but yeah, I mean, I like the part of me, especially from Saturday's game, wants me to say, the last Carolina game of the year, we're going to be up for it. Hopefully, maybe try to knock them out of the tournament. If they go on a little losing streak or anything like that, maybe we'll play up for it. But God, man, even though the Wake game scares me, just because Wake's going to play up to us, and it's another game on the road. We're coming back 5 days or 4 days after the NC State game. I would like to say 4 wins, but I just don't see it happening, man. And that's
Spencer,
the thing.
Spencer, to be clear, that means you are saying that Duke is finishing with a sub 500 record in the regular season. That's what you're saying right now. That's your call?
Unfortunately, I never thought I'd say those words ever. But does 2020 even count? Does the season even count? I would like to say no.
Yeah. For everyone in the comments, if you say 4 and 5, that means we're finishing 500, assuming we get to play every game the rest of the year, which is not guaranteed. And if you say 3 and 6, that means we're finishing sub 500 on the season. Matt, what do you say?
I'm going to say 4 and 5 as well. I think we get 1 against UNC. I think we get Notre Dame again, lose NC State, get Wake, and they get that Georgia Tech game, lose the other 5. It's just it's pathetic to think a Duke team is going to go 500, but that's where we're at now. And I'd say 4 and 5.
Zion, come on, dude. We don't need that. Fuck out of here with it. We need that Pitt at Duke reschedule. That's what we need.
I think Zion wants us to go sub 500 at this point.
Oh, boo. Mark, what do you think? Record for the last 9 games?
I tried slipping at the end, but I think 5 and 4. I'm a little more optimistic than the rest of these guys here, though. Not too much more. I think we split UNC. I think we lose to NC State and Wake. I think we beat Notre Dame. I think we lose to Georgia Tech just because they haven't beaten us since 2010, and they're gearing up for it. And then
Jose Avocado. Shout out to whoever said Jose Avocado. I've been using that shit forever. So that's hilarious, man. That's so basic, but it's so good.
And then I think this team is able to upset Virginia and Louisville. I know that's crazy, but this team shows they can win at home. They will rise up to. I just realized 5-0 at home, 0-4 on the road. Doubt it's going to happen that way, but somehow 5 and 4. Okay.
I like it, Brandon.
I mean, best.
Sorry,
case
we'll
scenario,
jump back into you, Matt, in a second. Let me get Brandon in here.
Best case scenario, they'll go 6 and 3. But to me, I think they'll go 4 and 5 for sure. I mean, the inconsistency of this team is so bad. I mean, you just don't know who's going to show up. I mean, against Clemson, we all thought they were turning the corner, and then tonight they go out and lay an egg. So you just don't know what they're going to be coming to. I think the only games we're going to win, I think we'll beat Louisville at home. I think we have a pretty good chance against North Carolina this weekend, especially coming off a loss today. And I think the other win, maybe Virginia, and I think for sure Syracuse, and a Notre Dame for sure be a win. I think too.
I see a lot of people saying, I'm going to get to you, Matt. I see a lot of people saying like that some of these picks are, overly optimistic, but I also think that like you can toss out your idea of what we're going to do just in general, like on a game by game basis, right? Because I think that Duke could beat Virginia. We can obviously lose to Miami. There's a huge range here. Like I tend to be like, I said it at 5 and 5.5 because I think 5 wins or 6 wins feels right to me. We're going to win at least 1 or 2 games we should not win this season probably. We will also lose at least 1 more game that we have no business losing this year, right? Like, so,
I think we lose 2 of those games, man.
I don't think we can – like, I don't think this is the year where we can go through and go, oh, we're going to beat Notre Dame. We could lose at home to Notre Dame. Why not? We could lose away to Wake Forest, but we could win at Virginia. Or not at Virginia. We could win against Virginia. We could win at UNC for all I know. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea which squad is going to show up.
I mean, to me, when a Duke went on that 3-game losing streak, I mean, Duke was only like 1-2 plays away from winning each of those games. And it's the same thing with tonight. I mean, the problem is that they just can't get a stop down the stretch. I mean, I'm not saying that a Duke's going to go out and go 8-1, but the thing is that they possibly could go out and be 7-2, but who knows? The inconsistency is the issue with this basketball team.
I think our level of play, we should win 5 or 6 games. It just depends on whether we can actually close those games, or not. Matt, jump back in with your question, comment.
Oh no, I'm good. I was just someone said we were going to beat Virginia. I think that's a stretch and a half. I don't think there's a chance in hell we beat Virginia, but it would be nice. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think we have a chance in hell against them.
I did see the comment, like, why are we so confident in Syracuse? Last thing. 10-5.
I'm not.
It's at home. That's
no,
why
I'm
it's
not.
at home, baby.
Yeah. Like,
I'm not confident in a single game rest of the way. So
yeah, I have no confidence in anything other than the fact that we will win some games that we shouldn't, and we'll lose some games that we shouldn't. And by the way, C. Glazewski, if Duke goes 6-3, are we making the tournament? Unfortunately, not. That's not going to do it.
Unless we win the ACC tournament, we're not making that.
And that assumes that assumes the Quad 1 teams decide to play the ACC tournament. Because if they don't, and we win the ACC tournament, I don't really know what's going to happen there. Like, will they still let me in?
It'll still be an automatic bid no matter what. So we would be in.
But if, like, and I know we're wrapping it up. If, like, 5 teams choose to not play in the ACC tournament, and, like, that happens in major conferences, like, what is the NCAA going to do about that? I think that's, like, a really interesting question for a different day, probably. Yeah. Jay Edwards, Spencer, Matt, Mark, Brandon, thank you so much for all of this. Thank you to everybody in the comments, except for that Maryland guy. Dude, get a life. Hey.
Fort Wayne Ants.
Fear the turtle. Whatever.
Go watch the, Azusa Who Gives a Shits, you know?
Yeah. Go get Gary Williams another suit.
Yes. I'm Russ. Find me at Duke Better on Twitter. Thanks to Zion again for setting everything up and for producing the show. And sorry that it wasn't under better circumstances, people in the comments. Hopefully next time it'll be a little friendlier. Until that time comes and until that sweet, sweet win, I'm the Trey Stones of this shit. We out.